Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It is your Capes Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Kylar of Foreign Press Comics. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream, and we're here to break down his latest Kickstarter for Fletcher Cross and everything in between. How have you been, Kylar? Welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me back, man. It's been good. You know, we're running the Kickstarter right now, which is, like we were talking earlier, it's just stressful. But you know, we've only been on here for 3 days, and we're not doing bad so far. But other than that, you know, just continuing the comics grind. You know,
Yeah.
just keep working, and that's all we can do, I guess.
No, absolutely. So for those that are watching that might be new, let's give a little recap of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish within the indie community.
Well, my name's Kylar Merrell. I'm the, I guess, I don't know, editor-in-chief is how I sign the emails, but I mean, I don't really do much of that. But I work with or run Foreign Press Comics. It's a small startup independent publisher. And so right now we have other comics to our name, like Valkyrian and Terminal, Sleep Sister Sleep, and we are currently working on Fletcher Cross. We're not working on Fletcher Cross. Fletcher Cross is done. The book's complete. But we have a Kickstarter. It's live right now. And I don't know if you want me to explain what it is or what, but
The book?
yeah, the book.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that.
Okay.
Real quick though, do you want to maybe give a shout out to Foreign Press Comics and because we dove into that a lot more in depth our first time meeting.
Yeah.
But just to touch base upon it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing much has changed since last time we talked. This time, we finished submissions for Smash Quarterly, and I'm actually going to check in today with Devin about our submissions our acceptances and rejections and things like that. Because we got all that done, we're just finalizing like the final steps of that process. So we can, tell people, give them the go ahead to get started on their books. And I mean, that's pretty much it. We have another anthology that we're gonna be opening submissions for in probably after the Kickstarter ends. But I mean, nothing else has really changed. We still got a lot of other things kind of behind the scenes in the works that we're doing things with. But we're still, kind of smaller at the moment, but I think that works to our advantage that we can slowly build on things. So we don't have a lot, like we're not over here just like we got this to announce, we got this going, we got this, but we're just slow and steady sticking with what we do. And
slow and steady wins the race, right?
Exactly, yeah. That's the ideal, so we'll see.
That's really cool that you were able to get that anthology like kind of wrapped up. I know when we last talked, you were in the beginning stages of it. Do you want to kind of maybe break that down? Like, you had a lot of submissions for that, right?
I mean, we had probably 50-something submissions.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know a lot of people have had. There's been plenty of anthologies that have more than that, but there's also several that have a lot less. So I think I don't know how it compares, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But we the last time we talked, we had I think a few days left because I think we talked end of April and the submission ended April 30th, and so we had open submissions, and then we just went through the process of going through them all. Me and Devin, we split them in half, and we first checked background checked people, made sure they were cool. They were someone we'd want to work with, and then we just split the submissions in half. I took the top half, he took the bottom half, and we just objectively gave everyone a number 1 through 10, and then based on their art and their story, and then whichever ones had the highest score, those went to the next round, and then we did them subjectively based on whichever ones we liked the most, rated them again, and then that's how we ended up with our final picks. And I think we have a really good crop of people. We have, several who are, several that we already had specifically invited to the anthology that I guess we haven't announced yet. So I'm going to hold off on that until I guess we announce all of them later on. But pretty much right now we're just waiting on one response for someone's page count, because that's going to determine whether or not we can let this other person in. So that's the only thing that's going to, and whether or not we can let this person in this volume. we know they're going to get in the next volume, but whether they get in this very first one, it depends on the page count of this other story. But yeah, that's about where we're at. We're still, just trucking away, just getting things
That
going.
sounds like it was a pretty big process, and I know you were saying that you didn't have as much as other people, but you had more than others. I mean, the big thing for me is like 50 is still a big number. Even like chopping that in half with someone and doing like 25, that's still a considerable amount to work through. And not only that, but to have to come up with your own like ranking system to see which ones we're going to progress next, like that's a considerable amount of work.
I mean, I guess, it was just, the rating system was just, like I said, it was just, luckily, with technology being the way it is, we just had a Google Sheet. And because since we did it in Google Forms, I could, download it as all the responses as a sheet. And then I just added a column for story 1 through 10, art 1 through 10, and then a column that added those up. And then I pushed a button and then ranked them all. And so it did a lot of the work for me. But, we started out with probably 54. We took out probably 5 or 6 because we, their background checks, if you want to call it that, didn't really check out. They were kind of associated with some stuff that we didn't want our books to be a part of. And then after that, it went down to about 25, and then that went down to about, I don't know where we're at right now. I think we're at about about 8 stories, I think. And eight people that we submitted. Eight people who submitted their stories got in. So
how many pages are you looking at altogether with it?
32 for the first volume, or for each volume. So that'll be I don't know, that'll be tight, but I think it'll be a pretty good deal. And like we have, the plan is to have several stories, and those are the ones that I can't announce yet because those are people we invited, but that are going to take place over all 4 volumes of the book. So it's going to be like an ongoing type thing.
That is
still
so
only
cool.
6 pages. And so there'll be a couple stories that take place throughout the whole thing. But yeah, so overall 32, but so taking out those other stories, we have about 24 pages, 26 pages, something like that left of wiggle room to work with. So it's just a matter of figuring out, okay, this person said their story's 2 pages, so this can fit, but this one's 4 pages, so this one won't make it in this time, and just looking at numbers like that. But
I got
not too difficult.
So with that, the refreshment on that, let's go ahead and start breaking down what we're here for. Let's break down a little bit of Fletcher's Cross and kind of like what went into it, your inspirations for it, and everything in between before we take a little bit of an in-depth look at the Kickstarter.
Okay, it's Fletcher Cross. It's called Fletcher Cross, and it's a narrative anthology. First of all, it's a narrative anthology, which is something, I guess, kind of new. It's not brand new. People have done it before, but it's not something that's super common with anthologies. And what we mean by narrative anthology is that it tells a story from beginning to end. Every chapter within the story, for the most part, with the exception of the beginning and the middle, or the beginning and the end, could be read, individually, kind of like, because we were originally inspired by like comics of like the 50s, 60s, like the golden age of, because you had Superman comics where Superman, he would, one issue he'd be doing this, and the next one he'd be doing something completely different, no references to the other one, just completely unconnected adventures. And that's kind of where I started with the idea. I had the idea I just wanted to tell an anthology that told a story from beginning to end, but was also could be read as individual chapters. And so I approached my friend Derek Crow about it. I said, do you think you can help me? Because I knew that with this project that it wasn't something I could handle on my own, because I knew that was going to be a lot to manage, as far as like I can manage an anthology, but managing, putting it in order and making sure that kind of the story hit the beats that we wanted it to hit, all that together was going to be a lot. And so I reached out to him. He was down. We invited writers, kind of had to do an open call for artists, but yeah, so the story is about Fletcher Cross. He's an original character. He's a prideful, self-centered engineer working on this machine called the Dimensionalizer. And he doesn't feel like he's given the credit he deserves. He's just angry all the time. And one day he decides, screw it, I'm going to test the machine. You guys won't let me. You guys don't believe me. I'm going to test it myself. I don't care what you say. So he tests it without approval, and the machine goes haywire. It sends him into the multiverse, and he's lost. And that's where our story takes place. Each chapter takes place as he hops through a different dimension. There's 18 chapters, and the whole thing is how can he find his way home when his biggest obstacle is himself? And so it's all about how he can get over himself in order to find his way home through this vast multiverse of super weird worlds. We have Lovecraftian, monsters where he's almost sacrificed. We have baby verses where it's like Rugrats meets Grease. That's how the writers described it, and that's perfectly apt for their story. He goes to a hollow earth, meets lizard people, tribes of warrior women. He gets lost in a Mad Max-esque desert. He fights Nazis, does a little bit of everything. And so, like I said, it's just about how can he find his way home when he's the biggest thing in his way, and how can he get over himself?
I really love this concept so much. I think the way you went about like connecting this anthology, like having him like jump through different multiverses, was like such cool like perspective on it. Like, what drove you to that inspiration? Because I've read a couple anthologies, and this seems like such a unique take on it.
I appreciate that. I don't really know where I specifically got the idea. I know it was like probably, I don't know, August or so, maybe. No, I don't know. It was like fall of 2020. And I don't know if we talked about this last time, but in May of 2020, right when COVID was going on, I put together an anthology called Pandemics and Panels just on a whim. And so after that, I just really wanted to do another one. And so I wanted this one to be in print. And so I was thinking of ideas and ways that I could break the format and do things differently than other anthologies have been done before. And so I knew I wanted to tell a story, a cohesive story, and that brought me to kind of that 50s, 60s golden age retro vibe. And I started there, and that's pretty much all we had. We knew we had this scientist character, because back then, you had characters like Doc Savage and Rip Hunter, things like that were just kind of an everyman character. And so I guess this story is kind of how our character becomes that. He starts off as this grumpy character. It's how he becomes this sort of more heroic version of himself. I don't know that he completely gets there by the end, but he definitely, I knew he wanted to tell a story in that kind of vein. And like I said before, just how those stories were so unconnected, but also it's the same character. And I wanted to do that, but add some cohesion to it. And that's kind of where the idea started. I mean, there's not anything I can specifically pinpoint, to be like, oh, it was, I read this book and I wanted to do that. But I wanted to do something in that format, and that's the character that best fit that. And we bounced around a lot of ideas, like we talked about, maybe just doing time travel, or just doing, at one point, one of the ideas I had written in my notes was somehow he travels between dreams. So we went through a whole bunch of different things, and dimensions was kind of the one that we settled on. And we were going for, a lot of the dimensions he goes to are at least in some way inspired by comics from that age. We have horror, like some like Tales from the Crypt, horror-esque comics. We have some, comics that are kind of like, what are they called? The Teen Brigade, like from DC, like the old Jack Kirby ones, where they, like the old Jimmy Olsen, where he, like, where it's a bunch of kids and like they just, that's it. It's just a comic about a bunch of kids, like in the war. Yeah. So we have something by that. We have a war story. We just have a lot of different genres that are all kind of inspired by that. And so, I guess I kind of went on for a little bit, but I guess, I don't know. That was kind of our inspiration, but there wasn't a direct thing. You know what I mean?
I really love just how in depth it gets too, the way you change it up, like with different dimensions, like equals like a different type of experience or like atmosphere for them in terms of like the comic world. It's such a cool vibe. Now, you said this was the second Kickstarter you did for this. What are you doing differently with this one that you didn't exactly nail with your first one?
Well, the first one, we didn't get our funding goal. We knew we had a very lofty goal, and the process in the first one was really quick. It went from sometime in the fall of 2020, so like probably September or October, something like that. The only reason I remember that is because I was outside working out on my grandpa's back porch because it was COVID and there was no, I couldn't go to the gym. So I remember it wasn't like super hot, so it wasn't summer. But it was sometime in the fall of 2020, and by August 2021, the book was done, Kickstarter was launched. So we went really fast. We had a pretty high goal. for people who hadn't really run a Kickstarter before. And so this time we lowered the goal to $2,500. We're currently at about 20%, or $495. This one honestly is a lot less in depth. The first one, like, our video was this whole thing of, it was based on like those old commercials of like the old TV commercials where you get like the box set of DVDs of like Shirley Temple or whatever. It was like that. And so it was me. I had to record a whole voiceover like, buy now and you can get your copy of Fletcher Cross. And I did a whole voice and this whole video that was all that. And then this time our video it's pretty bare bones. I just made it, put some, generic royalty-free music to it. It's just shots of the book. That's all it is. It's less in depth. We had a lot more preparation with this one. We had a lot more build up. So obviously the book has still been done and there's still little edits that we're going to make here and there, but like just some lettering changes that we're in the process of doing. But we started our pre-launch this time a lot sooner, just so, because what we learned is that a big part of a Kickstarter is just how, I guess, is word of mouth, and people hearing about it and knowing about it. And so we started off really early and just kind of started talking about it and just started, so people knew the name Fletcher Cross, people had heard of it. And so by the time we come to now, when the campaign is live, hopefully maybe more people have heard of it. Obviously, like any campaign, there's still going to be people who are like, what? I had no idea you were running a campaign. But, I've had people, in my own life come up to me and be like, oh, you have a book out. And I'm like, well, kind of. I didn't really draw any of it or write much of it. I, just edited it. But so, that was what we learned from the first time, was just to have more of a build up. And I think we kind of went into this one with a lot less pressure, because we have a lower goal. We have we didn't put it, I want to say we didn't put as much effort into the campaign, but that makes it sound like we didn't try. I just mean like we didn't go over the top. Yeah, exactly. The first one we put like effort into every single detail, but this time we still put effort in. We still believe in the campaign, but we weren't trying to, kill ourselves putting, these minute details in there.
Yeah.
Might not matter to anybody.
So we have J. Michael Miller over on YouTube says, sounds really interesting, pretty much tapped out this month for Kickstarters, but just back to show some support. Hell yeah, we appreciate that, Jay.
Thank you.
Welcome to the chat.
Appreciate it.
Anyone that has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We also have the campaign link right here. I'll just post it again. Feel free to check this out. We're going to be looking at the Kickstarter here in just a few more seconds. But real quick, I noticed that you were trying your hand at some lettering. Are you going to be the letterer for this campaign?
Yeah, I'm not the letterer for the whole book. We actually have Kevin Lentz he lettered several stories in the book. He lettered which ones? I need to actually he's not credited on some of them that he lettered, but oh no, he is. He lettered Meridian, our pirate story, our baby story. He lettered 4 different stories in the anthology. Derek Crow, the co-editor, he lettered a few, and the other ones just artists lettered them. But I lettered the 2 that I wrote, and I think that's it. There might have been one more that I lettered, but no, I lettered 3. But yeah, I've just been getting more into lettering just in general. Like I found some lettering work here and there, working on other projects for people, and so that's just something that I've been trying to improve on. And so we were in need of a letterer. I needed something to work on, and so I did it. And that's a lot of the mistakes in the lettering problems are problems that I have that I did. Like I just need to go and like a lot of my text is way too big on my lettering pages, the pages that I lettered in the book. So I'm gonna have to go edit that and make those smaller. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm not the letterer in the whole book, but it is something that I'm working on. And so
that's really cool though, like getting that experience,
Yeah, exactly. I that's the thing about making being kind of for the most part a one-man team, because like my other books, Valkyrian and Terminal, I've done all myself, and so you kind of have to learn how to do all those things. And so, but I have learned that lettering is an art that I'm actually interested in, whereas like I'm not actively trying to pursue being an artist per se, just because I just don't think that's my strong suit. But think that lettering, there's something that I can do. So I'm actually trying to, do something with that.
And it's sometimes it's hard to find that, because, like for me as a person, I would want to stick with the art just to, push it, because, in your head, the more you do it, the better you get. That's just like kind of how it goes. But it takes a really like different type of discipline to be like, okay, well, I would probably be better suited like in the lettering aspect of this and take this and run as far as I can with it. And you know what I mean? So yeah, I could really respect that. Yeah, but I think it's... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm still gonna draw. Like, I have other books that like I'm currently drawing like right now that, I'm not gonna stop drawing, and I know I can still improve on my art, but I'm not actually going out and looking for opportunities as an artist. Whereas I am looking for opportunities as a letterer. Yeah.
And, it was really cool when I did that Global Comics interview, to kind of touch base on that again. Well, it was like a brand new account, so the algorithm wasn't even like, it wasn't affected by me using it. And you popped up like first. I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah. So that's good. I haven't checked on that. I don't even know how to tell if I have gotten a response.
I'm not sure either. I know they're coming up with
I don't know if it would go to my email or not, so I guess I need to log in and find out. Because I completely forgot that I did that until I saw you had tagged me in a tweet. You were like, Forum Press Comics was on the top, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, shoot, I did that.
Yeah, you might have a couple inquiries about it.
We'll see.
So let's go ahead. I think this would be the perfect segue. Let's pull up the Kickstarter and check it out. We'll check out all the details and see what's kind of different this time around. So give me 2 seconds to get it added.
Yeah, it is. And it's just, and that's what I was having to explain to my girlfriend yesterday. I was like, yeah, the middle's gonna suck. And she's like, no, it's not. It'll be fine. And I was like, no, it's going to suck. Like, trust me, it's going to. Everyone who has ever run a Kickstarter can tell you that the middle will dip. Every single person I've ever talked to has said the middle will dip. And then even me, the middle will dip more than you expect it to dip. Like, you expect it to slow down, and then you still get surprised by it. Or maybe not surprised, but you still are like, oh my God, it's dipping. Even though it's going to do it. I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, so it's just, Kickstarter is just stressful. And so I'm trying not to be too in my head about it, and kind of just going to continue talking about it and continue, getting the word out as much as I can, because that's the biggest part of, like I said earlier, that's the biggest part of having a successful Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So Fletcher Cross, once again, a 120-page comic anthology. Right here is the video. Let's go ahead and check that out. I thought that was quick, to the point, and informal. I really liked seeing the different art styles from the different dimensions as well. Yeah, that was really cool.
That was part of the thing with the first one as well. Like I said, we had this whole other one planned, and then I did a lot more research and looking into Kickstarters and like, what do you need in a Kickstarter video? And it's almost like 50-50. Half the people are like, no, your video needs to be the book. You need to show off the content of the book. That's all you need. And then the other half are like, no, it needs to be you, because people want the creator. They want to see you. So they want to see you sitting in front of a camera talking about it, or at least a voiceover. And I just kind of decided, I'm not, again, like I wasn't putting in, going to go above and do all these crazy things. So I was just like, I made a video. I'm proud of the video. That's what it is. So it's 40 seconds. It's not bad. It was easy to make.
I thought it was good. I thought it was right to the point. And it shows the examples of the different art styles too, or the different dimensions, I should say, like where you see him fighting pirates, which I thought that looked so awesome too. That looked really cool. So we're looking at the story real quick. Fletcher Cross is an engineer at Day Industries working on their interdimensional travel machine, the Dimensionalizer. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Dimensionalizer.
When Fletcher decides to test the machine before its completion, he is rocketed through the multiverse, through dozens of dimensions, from horrible Lovecraftian worlds to universes of pirates and four-eyed fish. Will Fletcher find his way home, or will his arrogance keep him stranded in the multiverse? So here's a look at the beginning. So what are we looking right here with this page?
This is the first chapter. I wrote this with the artist Jay Sheik. He drew it. I lettered it. Again, this is one of the ones that the lettering needs to be fixed before we send it off to print. But yeah, it's kind of just our introduction to. I know like I said, kind of the original concept was. Excuse me. The original concept was to have every chapter be individual, but we knew we needed an actual beginning and an end for it to be a story, for it to be cohesive. And so, I wrote the beginning, Derek wrote the end, and this is just kind of introducing you to who Fletcher is, what the Dimensionalizer is, and how the story starts. It's a pretty standard intro. That's his boss, Curtis Day, the blonde guy right there. And Fletcher's kind of just put out by him. He doesn't really he feels like he's not appreciated. Curtis just doesn't, right now he's showing off to the board of directors, and Fletcher's like, I'm not giving the credit I deserve. You won't let me test the machine. All these things that, when in reality, if you look at it, it's not like Curtis is being a bad person. Fletcher just is that cocky of a dude. And so that was kind of our thing, is that it's not like he's some good person. He just kind of sees everyone as against him. The world is out to get him. And so that's why Fletcher is the way he is.
To be honest with you, I know you said you needed to redo this writing. I think your lettering is really good. I mean, compared to mine, this is like 10 times, a billion times better than I could ever do.
Well, I appreciate that. It's just a lot of that is, the problem is that a lot of it's just really big. And so it's covering up a lot of artwork.
Okay, the bubbles.
If we just shrink it, if I shrink the text down and shrink the bubbles down, it'll take up a lot less room, and I think it'll look better. But it's not bad. I've definitely done worse. But and again, there are also little mistakes, like at the very top of the page. Like I see, like the spacing on that top bubble is weird. So there's a lot of little things I'm gonna edit, but yeah. So.
It's always awesome too to hear like the creator. Like I never would have caught that. The fact that you caught it so quick, like it's probably been burned in your head, but like me, like glancing over it, I'm like I didn't even notice it. So right here, they're kind of breaking things down about the investors, wondering if he could explain his contribution to it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I pulled it up on my screen so I could read it as well. Right. What were you gonna say?
So if you want to kind of give us a little bit more of a breakdown of like what's going on in this scene.
He just like Curtis comes up, he's like, hey, it says these investors were just wondering if you could explain it. And what happens is Fletcher launches into this tirade using a bunch of garbage, weird, fake sci-fi words, a miniaturized singularity generator, transverse waves, and things like that don't make sense. And Curtis laughs it off. We don't want to scare him off, just because Curtis is a light guy. He's not actually a jerk. And so he even goes on to say that Fletcher's a valuable part of the team. And again, we see in the last panel, like Fletcher's pissed. And so then we go to the next one, and they finally talk. And at this point, Fletcher's lost it. He's just angry. You won't let me test the machine. I've done all this for you, and you don't let me do anything. I don't get anything out of this. And again, like in the same page, Curtis is like, I can't. I wish I could, but I just can't. Because he's again not a bad person. It's just this is all just to establish kind of Fletcher as a character and establish that and that's kind of his attitude as he goes into a lot of these other dimensions, is that he's put out by all these things. He's dragged into all these weird little side adventures, he hates it. He's just like, this sucks. Like, all these people, you're just bothering me, when he could be, enjoying the fact that he's traveling the multiverse, but he's not. He's just put out by everything. And so
it looks like our man of the hour decides to take matters into his own hands.
Yep, he tests the machine. Has two of my favorite pages. That's two that I've been using for for promo and stuff. But he tests it, and then as we can see, it starts to go awry. And actually, the thing that goes awry is the thing that the piece that Fletcher himself was working on. Fletcher was working on the part that we called the quantum compass, and so the thing that directs the machine. And that's the part that messes up. That's that little panel right there with the numbers on it. That's the thing that controls where you go. And that's the thing he built. And that's the part that messed up. That's the reason.
I love that so much because it kind of takes his arrogance about it, and just
exactly.
It's kind of just an eye opener. Like, you aren't like who you really think you are. You need to kind of keep that ego in check. Like, that's awesome.
Yep. And then the last page is pretty self-explanatory. We just ended it again, kind of a callback to comics of older comics. You know, we ended it with the little caption box telling you, with the Dimensionalizer on the fridge, Fletcher Cross embarks on a journey through the multiverse, with danger and adventure around every corner. And that was we purposefully added that. We added that in almost last minute, just because we just felt it kind of really added something to. It added more to that feel that we were trying to.
I love the multiverse awaits as well. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. That originally that was the tagline for the book. The original book was Fletcher Cross, the multiverse awaits, and with this second version, we kind of dropped that. So
here is a look at the campaign. This kind of just gives us a recap of that you guys tried to run it in August of 2021, and it was 100 page. So did you add some pages since then?
No, I just think we didn't have a full
gotcha.
number of how many pages it was, and so we just put 100 plus because we knew it was going to be somewhere in there, and then we've we kind of added it'll be 120. So we've settled that down a little more, but yeah, that's pretty much all that is.
And then here is a look at some of the creators. So if you want to go ahead and call them out while I scroll.
Yeah, Derek Crow and Enrique Lopez. He's usually an inker, but Derek Crow's my co-editor. Johnny Cassidy and Chad LeDuc, they did it's a really cool story. It's called Hotel California. It's noir, the black and white. It's really interesting. Then we have VLOC and Gabby Scanlon and Kevin Lintz. Gabby worked with me on Stonewood Mountains, and that's Vicky, and she is one who Derek knew. She hasn't written a lot of comics, but she wanted to do something, and the first thing she asked is if she could tell a queer romance story with pirates, and we were like 100% go for it.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
And it's a really good story. It's really charming. And yeah, so then we continue, like I mentioned earlier, that's Rugrats meets Grease, and you have two groups of toddlers. One is nerds, one is greasers, and how do the teenagers tie into that? You find out in the book. Get a little wacky. The next one is one that I'm really proud of. It's called F Nazis. By me and Veronica V. Jones, and that's the last panel right there to spoil it for you. And it's a literal punchline. But yeah, that's the last thing he says as he disappears into the portal is F Nazis. So that's always a slogan we can live by.
Yeah.
And Veronica also did the cover for us, the wraparound cover. And then the next one, like I mentioned before, that's me and Jay Sheik. He's working with Foreign Press on his other story, Frosty the Hellmouth. Derek again wrote The Crystal Tomb, which is kind of our Indiana Jones inspired story with Sim Dagger. That's another artist who he did some really great work. He really does a good job with the added, I forget what they're called, halftones, or where the little dots are on the page, which gives it a really old school kind of look. Yeah. The next one's In the Desert. That's another one that I wrote. It's our penultimate chapter. It's the second to last chapter, and it's Mad Max-esque. And we originally had a different artist on it, Claudio Gerardo. But Sonia stepped up. She said, "Hey, if you need an extra artist, I'm here." And so she took it, did it in black and white, and it really worked out really well. Next, we have Under the Sea. That's by me and Doyle Dodd. That's completely wordless. It's a one-pager. A lot of these are one-pagers that we kind of added in as we use as kind of promo for the original campaign that were going to be part of the book anyway. And so it's a lot of one-page comics that we have throughout here. We have, I think, 8 one-page stories.
Okay.
There's a few also that I haven't added on here, like Lou Nakashoji and Nathan, whose last name I can't remember. I'm sorry. But then, the last chapter is Derek Crow and Jack Van Tom, who did, Jack did one of our prints as well, that you can get with the book. Then the next one is High Above the Ground. That's me and Ben Humanik, who, that's kind of a steampunk, airships, blimps type thing. Then the next one is actually 2 chapters. It's, we needed to add something to, add some cohesion to the book. And so we had, I wrote one and Derek wrote one. They're just both called In the Stream, or Into the Stream, and they both take place in that energy in between dimensions. And so we had Deborah, I don't know how to pronounce your name, I'm so sorry, Lancianesi, she's Portuguese, I think. I don't remember. And then Derek's wife Megan did colors on both of those. So we both lettered them. Yeah, she's not really a comics person, but she does do stuff like that. And so we asked her, and she was like, yeah, I'll do it. The next one is Holo World. That's our Hollow Earth dinosaur story. Lizard people, and they end up being saved by a tribe of warrior women, and that's what she did. She wrote and drew it, and that's one of my favorites because she really plays to her strengths there. Yeah. She really does what she does best in that story, and I think it really works out well. The next one is The Merry Man. It's a Robin Hood story with Sam Prowse. Another one-pager, so there's not a lot to say on that one. Next is by Nick Bryan and Boris Petikovic. Again, sorry, dude. I don't know how to pronounce your name.
You're doing way better than I would. Pronunciations
really
are my weak suit.
Yeah, I like a lot of these people I haven't talked to in person, so I don't know. But no, that one we talked to Nick last year as we did some short interviews with the previous campaign, and he kind of described his book as what if Doctor Who was a prick. And so that's his and priorities, and it's actually really interesting. He gets into some really heavy sci-fi stuff there, which is really cool. And then Nicholas Punamali and Tiffany McLeod, as well as Kevin Lentz, they did the Tide, and it's Lovecraftian horror. Fletcher's almost sacrificed. There's this thing called the Tide that's pulling them in, and that one's actually really good. That one, awesome. And I think Hotel California are the two that I think we've gotten the most compliments on from reviewers. So
that's so awesome. Before we dive into the rewards, let's go ahead and just scroll through the art again, because like all these different arts is so gorgeous. Like I love like the different like styles and the texturing, and it's so cool to see a collection of all these different artists and writers like all like come together in this.
Yeah, and I like how some of them really took to heart, like I mentioned before, like with the halftones, little dots, they're the screen tones. I don't remember what they're officially called, but some people really took to heart trying to go for a 50s, 60s vibe in the artwork as well. Like you can see it in that page, the black and white panel right there. She does it. The one above like right that does too, it as well. Yeah, and so there's some people really took that to heart and really tried for that. And originally we were kind of wanting everyone to do it. Jay does it a little bit there as well, but we kind of thought about having everyone do that style, but I don't know. We've kind of just felt like that was pigeonholing people too much. And so if they wanted to, they could. If they didn't, they didn't. And so I just really like how everybody kind of does it differently, and I think that really helps out a lot. I like that some people really did take the assignment. You know, the TikTok sound that I understood the assignment. Yeah. Like some of them understood the assignment and did it. Not to say that the others misunderstood the assignment, but some of them just really understood the assignment and took it to heart and went with it. So it really worked out.
No, absolutely. So let's take a look at the rewards. So right here is the book.
Yep. Yeah, we have that's the standard. That's the cover. We're not doing variants or anything because I don't really do variants in general myself, but also just because it's pretty much a graphic novel. It's 120 pages. It's pretty thick, so I didn't want to, also that costs a lot of money, so I wasn't about it. And then we have 3 different prints. We have Sonia's is the first one there. That comes from her Holo World dinosaur story. Veronica's is just the cover. And then Jack's is one that he just did on his own. He just said, hey, if you guys need a print, I did this piece. And so we ended up using it. It's actually a square, so I like that. I like when people do things like differently in different formats, and so his isn't a standard 8.5 by 11 print, so I think that's really interesting.
So is this spoiler thing, like, is this going to be replaced by anything, or what was the meaning behind that?
No, that's just I don't even know exactly what he drew for, like what he was trying to draw, like what his aim was. I just know that he I don't know. He just, like I said, he just kind of did that of his own free will. We didn't ask him to do a print or anything. He was just like, I'll do or I think we said, would anybody be interested? And he came back and he's like, I already have a print. Here you go. And I was like, sure, I'll use it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It looks really good. I love his artwork. So it's really.
And then right here, some the reviews. Do you want to read like maybe 1 or 2 of your favorites?
Let me see. We had one of the ones that I really liked, that I was really proud of, is the 4th one down. It says, you had me at multiverse. Fletcher Cross is a book full of genre-crossing adventures that is sure to please all readers, including your evil twin from the Mirror Universe. That's from Jason Inman. He wrote Jupiter Jet and Super Best Friend, which he's also the co-host of Geek History Lesson, which is a podcast that I really like. And so he's one that I just kind of reached out to on a whim. I was just like, hey, screw it. Let's see if we can get a review from this person. which to me was a big get.
Yeah,
which,
yeah, that's
it's not
so
like he's
awesome.
like some A-lister, but to me, it felt big just because I listened to the podcast. Like,
how'd that feel for you though? Having
it was really
respond?
good. It was really good. When I first got the email the response that he said, yeah, I'll take a look and I'll send it to you. I was really cool. And then when he finally sent it, I was like over the moon, just to know that someone, not even that he enjoyed it, but just that someone who you admire read your work.
Yeah,
is a big deal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and then we have like Chris Arant, who I guess I need to change that because he's no longer the senior editor at Newsarama. But Frankie White, we have his project, his book, Project Starless Daydream, is one of our, I guess you can call them stretch goals. It's not really a stretch goal in terms of like we're going to get there after the campaign, but we did this in the pre-launch and we're continuing it through the campaign. For every 20 pre-launch followers, we added an extra digital book to the campaign.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which I actually need to edit the campaign because I've been out of town for the last 3 days, so I haven't had time to add anything to the campaign. But so far we've added Fairy Fair by Nick Bryan, who's also in the anthology, Rick Flash and the Adventure Knots by Mark Pate, and Project Stardust Daydream by Frankie White. So we have 3 digital books you get at any tier, as well as, since we hit 20 backers on the campaign, we added Hellbillies by John Westhoff and his team.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we have some other incentives, those are the main incentives that we're offering, other than what's offered on the Kickstarter page.
And
so,
then risk and challenges,
we get.
Basically just you can't control global things happening, so
Kickstarter makes you do that.
Yeah. So real quick, let's go over the tiers. Let's scroll up, kind of go through some of these tiers, and then we'll get to wrapping it up. Okay. So right now we have a pledge without a reward, back it because you believe it. And then we start with the digital package at $10. You get a digital copy of Fletcher Cross. The early bird.
And again, you get all the digital books as well. That's the other thing I need to add. But you get right now 4 books, and the more people who back, potentially we can add more books to that. So hopefully we'll get there. Anyway.
So how long are you offering the early bird print copy for?
There are 25 copies.
Okay, so as soon as this is bought up, it's gone?
Yep.
Okay, I like that. A lot of people, they just offer it for the first 48 hours. So what prompted you to kind of do a limited quantity of it?
I don't really know, to be honest. I did the 48 hours last time, and not that I thought like that was unsuccessful or anything. I just was like, let's do it differently this time.
I mean, for $5 more, this is an outstanding, price. I really like that. So,
so you get a print copy and a PDF.
So as soon as this is all bought up, though, you'll have to get the printed copy of it for $20. So there's 12 spots left before it goes up in price. So
and see, some people have already backed the regular one, the non-early bird, which that's just, I assume, either people don't read it or it's just people doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Which either way, I appreciate.
Yeah.
So so we have that, and then the next ones are all just sorry, I'm getting ahead of you, but yeah, we have one. You can pick which print you get. Like I said, we have the cover, we have the Sonya's dinosaur story, and we have Jack's square one, and then, or you can get for $40, you can get all 3,
which is a good price. It's buy 2 get 1 free basically at that point.
Exactly. And then below that we have our retailer/library package, which that's actually what I'm going to do later today, is get some mailers out, which I have printed. I just have to go write addresses and put stamps on them and put them in the mail to send out to retailers. So if anybody knows any comic shops, let me know, that support indie books. But we already have a list of shops that we're gonna reach out to. But if anybody has another one, we're always looking to expand our list of people to reach out to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you can get 5 for $50, which is essentially, that's our retailer price, which is 50% off. Then below that you can get ad space on my podcast, Comics Unscripted, 60 seconds in 4 episodes. So that's 2 months worth of Comics Unscripted episodes for $75. And then you can get your script edited by Derek and I, or you can get a backup story in a Foreign Press Comics comic, even though we have the right to refuse if you're not cool.
So is this like a part in the anthology?
No, that's in our Foreign Press Comics. We every book contains a backup, just like a backup
Okay,
story.
yeah.
And so, you get to, if you want to support the book, if you want to support Fletcher Cross anyway, there you can just support it and get your story in there.
That's awesome though. That's cool. So yeah, and then this is really cool too. The script edited. I think that's a very helpful one. And that's including everything else too. You get all the prints, the book, and everything.
Yep, you get the whole shebang. Plus, you get me and Derek to edit your script. So, I think I put 2 passes in there.
Yeah, or 5. Limited 5 of 5.
Well, yeah, no, but I didn't put it in there. Usually people will say like, I'll give you 1 pass at your script.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So I think, I don't know, we'll probably do 2 each. So I'll go through it. Me and Derek will both go through it twice or something like that. But either way, you get your script edited for $100, as well as you get the book and everything like that. So
yeah. All right, well that wraps things up. So with that all being said, for anyone that's watching, what would you like to say to them directly if they're on the fence about backing this? If you had the opportunity to speak to them directly, what would you like to say to them?
At Foreign Press Comics, we have a lot of things that we want to do, and we have a lot of goals, but those goals are only possible if we have people supporting us, because I wish that I could self-publish every book that we make, but I can't. I've self-published a few in the past, and that's all fine and good, but at some point we need some help. And so, not to sound too beggy right now, but we just need all the support we can get. We need anyone, even if you can't afford it, like you can put in $1, which helps our backer number go up. So that way the other people who are already backing get a free copy, get more books added to their digital bundle. Or you can just share it online. That's honestly one of the biggest things you can do, is to get the word out to as many people as possible. That's why I'm doing things like this. Why I'm doing, partially one of the reasons I'm doing the episode of my podcast next week, even though we're on hiatus. I have a couple other shows planned to be on, but yeah, just back the book. It's something new that we're doing with the anthology format. We're telling a story, so it's not just, if you're like me and someone who isn't a huge fan of anthologies in general, but you want something that does something different and try something new, I think this is definitely the book for you, because it's and another thing, it's all ages friendly. So if you got a kid, buy it for them. Like, we purposely went out of our way to remove to bleep out words this time. We had some in there, and then I had some people message me the first time, be like, hey, did you is this book for all ages? And I was like, no, not really. And they backed it anyway, but we ended up making it all ages friendly. It doesn't take anything away from the book. We still tell a great story. So yeah, buy it for your kid.
No, yeah, that's really cool that you guys would do that for the children as well. And I have to agree with you. I don't think it sounds baggy, but if you want this type of idea to flourish, you have to back it.
Yep.
Either back it financially or share it. Sharing is 100% free. You might not be into the idea of this, but you might have a couple friends who are. And they might have a couple friends who are. That's the beauty of networking and sharing, is like it just keeps going and going. So at least share the project if you're not able to back. Guys, this has been such an outstanding time. Kylar, I appreciate you coming back on, breaking things down for us. But before we leave, I always like having one question that I ask that's kind of directed to help other people who are watching as well. And I think since we're kind of on the topic of it, what type of advice would you give anyone that's kind of going through what you're going through with Kickstarter, kind of feeling overwhelmed by it, kind of just bogged down by it? There's a lot of pressure. What tips and advice would you give them to kind of help just alleviate some of that?
For one, even though you're going to want to be kind of be sad about it, or get put down by how the numbers look or whatever, how it's doing, or even if your campaign wasn't successful, don't lose hope. I think there is a point, for everybody where, you got to throw in the towel. But I think the biggest advice I can give is just use everything as a learning opportunity, because that's what we did with the first campaign. We looked at what worked, what didn't, and we didn't really have anything that, went wrong with it, but we still had things that we could do better, and that we could, like I said earlier, one of those things for us this time was building up an audience beforehand and starting that earlier on. So that's just the biggest advice I can say, is use everything as a learning opportunity. If your campaign isn't successful, learn something from it and try again in a little bit. Maybe you don't have to try it again with the same project. Maybe you try with something else, but try again, see how it goes. and then keep learning from it, because that's the only thing we can do is to keep learning.
What awesome advice. I really appreciate that, because that was really well put, and I think there's a lot that you can take away from that. With that being said, guys, here is the link one more time. Be sure to check it out, back it. If you can't, share it with some friends. It's 100% free to do. I appreciate you coming on the show once again, this second time back, and I always have a fun time, just chumming it up and breaking things down. Kylar, thank you once again for stopping by. For everyone out there, it is a beautiful Thursday. I have to wrap it up and get to work on, unfortunately, but we will be back with the Geek later on tonight, so stay tuned for it. Yeah, guys, once again, have an awesome day, but most importantly, keep it geekly.